Okay, so thank you for coming along today. So this is geared at people that are delivering websites, but also, in fact, this actually provides to any service provider, any person providing anything really. Could be a product or a service, and making sure that you're actually getting the after-sales service. Because what often happens, particularly with websites, is that we hand them out to the customer, and then that's it. See you later, bye-bye, off to the next job. And we don't bother doing anything to maintain that relationship. And what I'm going to give you today is some examples of some really bad issues that have happened, things that I've found on Facebook forums recently, like in the last 2 weeks, but also client sites that I have worked with. So I'm going to talk to you about that. So, usual disclaimer, this information is generic in nature. If you need specific advice, please come and get it. Who am I? So I was given a little intro, but basically I have a couple of businesses and I also work as a Business Connect advisor. How many people here are from New South Wales? Most of you, 2/3 of you. If you're in New South Wales and haven't taken advantage of the service, please do so. You get 4 hours business advice at no cost to you. So you might want to use it for yourself, but you also might want to let your clients know about it, particularly people that come to you that aren't quite ready for a website just yet because they don't know the basics. So through that role, I've met about 1,000 business owners, one-on-one, face-to-face. Now that's a hell of a lot of people, hell of a lot of intel. And what that's enabled me to do is realise that there's a lot of commonality of issues. And a lot of people are getting ripped off or ripping themselves off through what they don't know. Now, I then developed FAQ business training, which is what I present these slides under. So just quickly, that Business Connect program, it is 4 hours, no cost. You can get additional hours. I have set on there $150 for 6 hours, but that does depend on the centre because some of them are twice that price. But Western Sydney Business Centre is $150. You can get 34 hours in the program. We do workshops as well. And if you are outside New South Wales, you don't miss out completely. If you go to business.gov.au/assistance, you'll find out what's available in your location. So today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the issue, why I'm talking about this in the first place, which is a combination of bad websites and poor customer care. We're going to talk about who owns the website. It was something that came up in the Aussie Divi forum a couple of weeks ago, so I thought I'll clarify that today. We're going to talk about seeking feedback, which is really important not to do just immediately after you've delivered the site, but actually again a bit further on. And we're going to talk about customer care programs and upselling and Q&A at the end. So basically the process when we have a client is that we do the marketing side, right? We do the pitch. We get that client on board, we get them to come and see us, and we're focused on that. Now, I don't know about you, but you might have noticed some people are really good at this part of the process. In fact, they seem to love that part of the process so much, but then when people actually get the service from them, they kind of fail to deliver the service because they're so busy, they love the chase. So I don't know if you know anybody like that, but there's some people that like the thrill of the chase. So they tend to really like the pitch phase. Then you've got people that are awesome at the delivery phase, okay? So they'll spend a lot of time and effort getting the right site, getting it up and running, getting it all going, handing it over, woohoo! But like I said, once they've handed it over, crickets. So the key bit that makes the difference is the after-sales service. So what you need to do is make sure that you're focusing on these areas. So you've got to check that your client is happy with your site, not just the day that you deliver it though. And I'll give you a couple of examples of some shockers, one which was a 3-year gap as to why a client could be happy and then very unhappy for a very good reason. We can maintain contact with our clients, and that would allow us to be the port of call if they need to update their site, because we all know we don't just put a site out there and then that's it, okay? We don't leave it. Although I did come across a site that was 13 years old now. It was dated it said, we're going to update our site in 2006. And I was like, whoa, that's a few years ago. So what is the issue? So the issue is bad websites and no customer care. Now, I spoke at WordCamp last year and I talked about a topic about people lacking website briefs. And I did say, and I did clarify then, and I'll clarify again today, I think the people that come to places like this are not the people that are doing the things wrong. Because you guys are community focused. So you are actually able to basically use some of these examples I'm giving you to reverse engineer and go, okay, they're doing that, just checking I don't do any of that, or could I pick up clients because I can be clever in my marketing and actually let people know about the things that I do really well that offset what other people do badly. Because we don't like to talk people down. We shouldn't be talking people down. But what we can do is emphasise our strengths that offset their weaknesses. So, post-delivery, hopefully you get a happy client, right? That's what we're going for. Woohoo! Client's happy. They're like, yes, got my website. It's so exciting. It's new, it's shiny, does everything I thought it would do. Awesome. We have a lot of clients that are like that. That's great. But 3 months, 6 months, a year later, is the client still happy? Have you bothered to check with the client if they're still happy? Because what happens if a client isn't happy? What do? Tell everyone. They do. They tell everybody. And the thing is, that is not good for you. And the thing is, the one person they didn't tell? You. 100%. So, after a 3 month, 6 month, a year period, what we can find is that there's a portion of clients that are still happy, still love us. There's a portion of clients that are just, nah, it's okay, but nah, not really that fussed. Hasn't quite gone as well as I hoped. Thought I'd get more clients out of it, yeah. And then you've got the ones that are genuinely not happy. And that can be for a variety of reasons. It could be a client fault, or it could be a website designer or developer fault. On the flip side, we have the unhappy clients. And I'm going to go through a couple of examples of people that are unhappy on day dot. So the thing is with unhappy clients after 3 months or 6 months, they're either still going to be unhappy, or they might have moved to the, it's okay stage. But it's going to be a unicorn if they move from that position to happy. So obviously we ideally want customers happy on day one. So this was an example of a website complaint that I saw on Facebook. I know that you're probably not going to be able to read all the detail of the text, but I'm going to pull out the key issues, and I've actually broken it into 4 parts. So the whole white bit is actually one email message. So the issues that this person pointed out. So first of all, I'll point out this particular example went on to Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine, which I think is up to about 100,000 people on that page. We're talking quite big numbers, right? So it's not like only a few people have seen this post. A lot of people have seen it. And one thing to be wary of as website designers and developers, when we put on the bottom of our websites who created it, that's a good thing and a bad thing. Because I've seen plenty of examples when I'm like, oh, I wonder who did that. Go and look up the person's name, look at their website, see down the bottom exactly who did their website. So make sure if you're going to put your name on a website, you're proud to have your name on that website, because it will come back to bite you. So in this particular example, this lady complained and said her website was delivered late. In this case, it was actually only 2 weeks, which to be honest is not that bad. I've had clients that have had websites delivered 2 years late. Now the problem with this is that you've got to think about the implications. Somebody that complains about a 2-week late delivery, that's not necessarily a big deal for a lot of people. But for somebody that their website needs to be there for a particular event occurring or something, that's a big problem, okay? I've seen an example where one lady where she was mucked around on her website so much, and it was like a year or so late, and in the end, that business just folded, okay? So the expense, the cost, the drama, the time, all for naught. This website contains typos. She had the word dessert in her website, which the website owner might have put in as desert instead. The person supplied fonts and colours to the designer, which the designer then chose to ignore. So maybe there's also an issue in this one of communication. So the issues here as well, the next step was she complained to the designer. Designer went and made some changes, but not all the changes. Okay, so client's kind of grumpier again now. But then to put the icing on the cake, what does the designer do? Sends them an invoice for the changes to the site that were required because the web designer hadn't done their job properly in the first place. Now, we all know there are times when clients ask for more. Okay, and that is perfectly fine to say, fine, if you want more, we can deliver more, but it will cost you more. But if you have made the mistakes, if you can't spell dessert and the material was given to you correctly, fix the goddamn spelling of the word dessert. Like, it's not hard. And certainly don't charge the client for it. Now, the wording she used here was quite funny. She said, she's clearly pissed at me. And I said to her, to be honest, she probably isn't. It is just the space, which is a sad indictment, but unfortunately, this is not a one-off thing that I've seen. Now, what the end result is this client is unhappy, okay? Clearly, we can see that. But she's going to give bad feedback to other people. But also, she's commented here that she feels she can't promote her own business because the website's not ready. It's not up to scratch. She's hired a website designer because she's not a website person. She can't do it herself. She outsourced it for a reason. So you've got to think about the implications that you take on when you are the website developer. Here's another example. Do many people here do their own hosting? Do those that do hosting, do you white label or do you do your own in-house server? White label? I get it.
In-house.
In-house? So what happens if it goes wrong? Like if your server needs to be switched off at the wall and you're in China at the time. What happens? Just something to ponder. This example, though, was somebody that was running a hosting in-house, and rather than communicating the fact that he'd stopped doing hosting, he'd literally just stopped and he said, here are 50 files, go deal with them. Now, this is freaking disgusting. You don't just decide, spur of the moment, to stop delivering a service, and then that's it. Clearly, that's not a good way to communicate. So he kindly set the backups of the website to her. Well, that's really great. But again, somebody that's not tech savvy has absolutely no idea what to do to that. So not only did she lose her website, she also lost her emails. Another one is where website developers hold sites ransom. And I've seen many clients where this has been the case. And we're not talking ransom because they haven't paid up and the client hasn't, that's fine. That's why a lot of you use staging servers and things, get the payment from the client and then put it up on their site, fine. This is where, though, the web owner goes, it's my site, I developed it, I'm keeping it, and you're not having it. I'm not giving you access. They have paid for the domain name, the web person, and the client doesn't even have access to their website. This is terrible to their domain name. This is terrible and not a good practice. Another example, somebody who was asking for a new web designer because I've been stuffed around. They weren't doing what was promised. The cost was too high, and they were like a relationship. And we all know cost too high could mean anything. But I know from another client, for instance, she was quoted $180 an hour for her website updates, and she knew they were being done in India. Seems a little steep to me for an Indian person. What other ones have I got? Things like the site wasn't exactly what I wanted. It's not what I thought I was getting. The biggest issue, though, honestly, a lot of the time is being ghosted, a lack of communication. So I had a client the other day and she said, look, I don't care if my web designer's busy and can tell me, okay, I'll come back to you at the end of next week. But they're not telling them that. They're literally just ignoring them. So make sure you're communicating, even if it's something you think the client doesn't want to hear. Now, the next one is site not working. So, my site's not working. There can be a number of reasons for this, and a lot of this comes down to the expectations and setting them up properly from the outset. So make sure when you set up your agreement with a client, it's very clear. Are you doing any SEO activity or are you doing none? Because if that client expects to rank, and that doesn't happen because there was no SEO done, that's going to cause a problem. Now, I mentioned earlier this. Site not indexed for 3 years. Client came to me as a business advisor and said, I think there's a problem with my website. Can you look at it? So I simply went site : domain name. No, site not indexed at all. But that's not the worst part of it. The fact was she was paying maintenance fees for 3 years to the web developer. I'm sorry, but that is rubbish. There's just no excuse for that. How can that web designer not have noticed that this site was not being indexed? There's some basic checks here we can do. Now, as I said, these are all giving us some really good ideas of things maybe we can do to stop these things happening. Another does the website work. This is a client I'm working with at the moment. The text on their website is minuscule. You need a magnifying glass to be able to see it. They have product pages where it just has the products at the top of the page are wire and glue for a product like a gate that's way down the page or on 3 pages down. There's no order to the website at all. It's terrible. It's just an enfold theme. So it's just been put on as a stock standard theme. So they said they spent $10,000 on an e-commerce site. And I'm like, well, to be fair, $10,000 for e-commerce isn't that bad. But it is when it purely is straight out of the box theme, completely cookie cutter, no tailoring. And the site has absolutely no flow. The irony of this, though, is that the web designer actually says in their marketing material, making sure your pages flow nicely is very important to keeping the bounce rate down and your conversions up. Don't know if any of you noticed the bottom line there. The bounce rate on their product pages, 86%. Do you think that they're doing what they preach? Hell no. Another complaint about websites not working is I do a simple check with them and I teach them tools that they can use themselves, so things like Uber Suggest. So I know some people go, oh, it's not that reliable. It's reliable enough for this purpose. This particular website had things like 10 404 page errors. It had 29 pages with a low word count because this particular web designer likes sites to look pretty and does not like words on the pages. Things like that. So that's why her site is not working. Hence the traffic. And it looks like there's been some action lately, but we've gone from 0 visitors a month to 3. Woo! Don't spend them all at once. I mentioned before, who does the website belong to? Now, this is an issue and it came up in the Aussie Divi community, so I thought I'd bring it up here. Now, did you know our website is not a thing in copyright space? It actually isn't. The website is actually a sum of all the parts. It is a sum of the copy on the website, the pictures on the website, the source code. So therefore, the website isn't actually something that can actually be copywritten, have a copyright on it, which is a bit of an odd one. So one of the things that's really important that you as a web designer is clear about who owns what and where. So have in your contract things like if the client's supplying you the photos, that they have got authority to use those photos. I had one client who decided that she could just go into Google and pull off images that didn't have watermarks, because that meant they were okay, because it's only the ones with the watermarks that are an issue, and I'm just like, oh. And she got this letter from the US for $300, and I went, she says, is this real? And I went, yeah, it is. And by the way, fix your entire website and all your social media because you've basically stolen every single image that you have. Not a good look. So with the website, there's law and there's reality, right? So technically, you as the web designer could own parts of the website. However, you're building the site for a client. You've been commissioned by the client. The client really needs to own it. Their whole business is reliant in a lot of cases on a website working. And obviously, if it's an e-commerce business and an online e-commerce business only, they have to have that. They must have access to the website. And I know some designers and developers like to lock it down because I don't want someone breaking it. Well, then make sure you've put things in it like Updraft Plus. Make sure you've got the backup facilities there. So if they do stuff it up, it can be fixed quite easily. And of course, you can charge them to fix it. Customer satisfaction. So the ultimate end game of customer satisfaction is to get repeat business from happy clients. But in addition, we want you to be their first port of call for all future business they might do. And we also want to be their preferred supplier, but we also want them recommending us to other people. Now, the ultimate raving fan, and this is going to show my age, was back in the 70s or 80s, the Remington Shaver Company. This guy bought it. He loved the product so much, he bought the company. We don't need a raving fan quite that extreme, but raving fans that will go and support us and say, oh my gosh, you've got to use this web guy, they're amazing. That's really awesome for your business. So customer care. Immediately post website delivery, focus on care. Don't focus on selling, focus on care. So ask about feedback. Now I've got here a rocket book. Does anyone know what these are? Little notebooks that you can actually send to the cloud and stuff like that. They're really cool and you can wipe them off and reuse them. So I got these for my birthday and my partner had ordered them for me and he got a call the next day after they were delivered. And they called him up and they said, oh, did they arrive safely? So they just wanted to check that the packet of 3 had arrived, they were all there was no creases or damage to any of them, so they purely were checking the quality of it. And they said, oh look, if you're not sure how to set it up, because he said, oh no, she hasn't got them yet because it was for a birthday present. He said, oh no, if she has any trouble setting them up, get in touch with us. This was for a $130 purchase because it was a set of 3 of these. That's amazing service for a $130 product, okay? So seek feedback. Ask the client for their feedback. Don't take it personally, but make sure that their site's working. If you made mistakes, like spelling dessert wrong, fix it without charging the client. It should be part of the proper thing. And that might be a little bit of a delay. It might not be today that they notice it. It might be 2 weeks later they notice it. Fix it for them if they can't fix that stuff themselves. The only thing I do here though is just confirm, hopefully you've got it in your agreement anyway, that you can put them on an email list because we want to maintain contact with them. So the feedback, do clients love you? Make sure there's a loop in the feedback. You get the feedback from the client, you respond to the feedback, you take on board their suggestions, some that you might ignore, but you still take it on board. Do you offer a warranty or a guarantee for the service? Consider offering a knowledge database. So when you deliver a site, especially a WordPress site, what you can do is offer them little simple training videos. So you could do screencasting, how to load a blog on your website, how to change a photo, how to add some text, okay? So the simple things that they should be able to do themselves. So you can create a knowledge base, as I said, just screencast videos. Screencastify is like $24 US for a year. You can put them up on Google Drive. So all that's going to cost you nothing, basically, apart from a little bit of time. And you can charge the client extra, put it in your package and say, you'll get access to my knowledge base. Sounds pretty cool, right? But it means you don't have to be there to answer all those tedious questions. So it's really great for customer service, but it's also something that you can charge more for. Now, what most of you probably don't do is this step. 1 month post-delivery, 3 months post-delivery, 6 months post-delivery, annually. Do you go back to the client? Do you bother to go back and check on them? Again, I would do this. Now, the site that was not visible for 3 years, imagine if they'd just done this, a mini audit. They just checked, is the site up? If they have access still to the Google Analytics, obviously get the client's permission to have ongoing access, but check what the traffic is and things. Note to the customer if there might be some issues. Mention to them there's some 404 errors. Communicate to your customer, advise them of any issues, and you can then also at this stage take a little reminder and say, hey, look, if you have got access to their site still, you can say things like, well, hey, we notice you haven't updated any of your plugins. Now this is where emails can be good to be maintained, but also remember, ask for feedback at these later stages. We want to remind the customer, if they've got a problem, don't blab to everyone in the world about it without coming to us first. So it's really important. So when we send these emails out, they could be things like, last year there was a really big WordPress user security update that had to be done. And a lot of people don't do their updates, right? A lot of these business owner clients. So sending them an email and saying, hey, this update's really important. If you're not sure, if you haven't updated your website for a while, please let us know and we can do it for you for X fee. Okay, so it's a way of upselling. It's a way of making sure that the website is maintained properly and is going to be able to be used. But also, at the annual anniversaries and things, we know that the website's getting a bit older. Maybe they've got new products or services they want to add. Maybe they've spoken to someone about SEO and they've told them, hey, don't have a one-page website or a very small website. Actually have some pages dedicated to services and things. So on the anniversary, you can also acknowledge them then. So say, happy anniversary. So it's the anniversary of their website, not of their wedding, in case you're wondering. So the website's date. So imagine if you sent this 3 years later. So 3 years later, you send them a thing saying, hey, and you might send them some stats about 3-year-old websites or something like that. So it keeps you in mind. That way, when they're thinking of upgrading, they're going, this person's been really helpful to me. They've been giving me these little tips, these little helpful bits of information. And you might give them a little gift or a little service offer. Maybe you give them a copy of a mini audit. You know, those things that you were doing anyway, but this time we actually send them a little PDF or something of that audit. So think about what you can do. I had a house I purchased through Lang & Simmons in Hornsby, and each year they would send me a card, and the card would say, hey, happy anniversary. If you want to know stats about what your house is worth now, please come, here's some information, and if you want to come into the office and grab a bottle of wine, please do so. So that way they weren't sending out wine to everybody, only the people that came in and got it, but they kept forefront of mind. So when 4 years later I was selling my house, who did I go to? Lang & Simmons in Hornsby, because they were front of mind. I still did a check, but they were still my first port of call. So to remind you today, plenty of people are delivering websites to unhappy clients, or clients that become unhappy because they become aware of other factors. So don't be one of the people delivering the bad websites, but also think about how you can change some of your marketing so that you're actually picking up clients as well. Make sure you've got feedback in there. Make sure you've got surveys and things that are being done. Make sure you're making that genuine customer care call, particularly that first step and maybe the 3 months in, to make sure that that client is getting a great service. Think about how you can do those mini audits and maintain the client contact. So I'm going to give you some homework, because you come along to these sessions and you know what, you might go, oh yeah, that was great, that was interesting, but you do nothing happens. So homework, review your onboarding process and make sure it's set up for success. So you may need to put a few tweaks in your contract. You may need to say, do you do SEO or not, so the client doesn't have a false expectation. Maybe adjust your package prices, particularly if you're going to add things like the database, the knowledge base. Create your feedback surveys and your customer care program and start implementing it. So happy to take questions and answers from you now, or questions for me to give answers to. And thank you so much for coming along today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, if we've got some questions, we can run a microphone to you. Just make sure the questions aren't how to spell dessert, okay?
I can spell it, it's all right.
Can we, though?
I don't know.
Thank you, Jane, for all this useful information. Now, I'd just like to pick your brains. I have this customer who has 2 websites. I made one of the websites. Yep. Another web designer did the other website, but he's not doing too much work for her, and she desperately needs to get stuff done on that other website that I don't own. What do you, and she really wants to hand over this website to me, but it's not mine, I didn't do it. Mm-hmm. So do you reckon I should get this website, and if yes, what should be the process to inform the current web designer?
Really, it comes down to your practices and the way you behave. Like, I had a client that said to me, oh, I don't want to steal anyone else's client. But at the end of the day, they have got an equal opportunity as you do to deliver a good service to the client. Now, if you're delivering a good service and the other person is not, then really it comes down to that person, that client, speaking to their web person and going, you're not delivering a very good service, either boost it up or we're going to take it away from you. So it really should be a call that client's making, and they should really be the one to break up the relationship. It's actually a blog I've got drafted and haven't quite got done yet about ending relationships in service space. Because we do need to end the relationship. We shouldn't just walk away. We should give them an opportunity, but at the end of the day, I would be trying to get hold of it if the client's not happy. because they are the one, like I said, it's not the web designer's website. I know it's your baby, you've put it together, but at the end of the day, the purpose of the website is so this person can conduct their business. And if they can't conduct their business because their website's not good enough, what's the purpose of it? What's the point in it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. We run a plug-in business which has price points lower than it would be for a website. So you've got my mind thinking about after-sales service on plugins. And the classic approach is to put them in a mailing list, and they just get the usual stuff dripped in, which I personally don't like because it's very impersonal and everybody knows that.
Yep.
Do you have any other thoughts, silver bullets, about how to provide good customer service on a low price point?
Like you said, it's the variation of the price points that are going to make the difference as to how far you go. But things like those sort of videos and the knowledge-based type setup is something that you can do at any price point, because honestly, they are that cheap. If it's, the software's costing you $50 maximum, there's free services that you can use as well. Like, it's not costing you hardly anything except for some time to sit there and record. So those could be then put on a YouTube channel if you want to make it publicly available, because you've got plugins where you don't really know who's actually got the plugin, or it's a paid plugin that you would have all the details. So if it's people that you've got the details for, then obviously emails go out and things. The things you've got to remember is I get literally I probably get 1,000 emails a day or something ridiculous, because I've got so many emails, so many places, crazy. But it doesn't mean I look at them all. But what I do is if I need something, I will go in there and look for it. So I'll go and do a search for whatever, plug-in help or something, and I will look in there, and then your email will pop up when I need it. So don't sort of think just because somebody's not opening your email every single day that emails aren't a good strategy. They are. But also think about every now and then for your higher value clients, contacting them every now and then and actually just giving them a quick phone call. There's nothing wrong with that. Reach out to your clients. Because like my partner, when he got this call from Rocketbook, he was just like, what? What do you mean you're actually doing a customer care call? They don't try to sell him anything. But now look, I've told you about Rocketbook. I told another networking group about Rocketbook, and 3 people in that group went out and bought one. So they've got business out of it because of their strategy. So although that might cost them something, it's only $130, and if you buy, only one or whatever, it's $40 or whatever, they've decided that strategy is helping them get word of mouth. So I'd take the same approach.
Any more questions, guys? Okay.
I'd just add a statement, like some of those Facebook things that you've put
Yep.
in. I'm just going to take a bit. It's hard to say, like this, the expectations of clients, right?
Yep.
Back to.
Yep.
And there's people out there that have probably bought less than $500 websites. I want a website, I want all this. They go and put it out there.
Yep.
And someone said, well, guess what? You're going to get peanuts for what you paid for.
Yep.
And it's just sort of
So-
stating, yeah, and you know what? Some of those people are the ones that get on and have a whinge.
Okay,
They're
so
the ones that are going to really whinge.
yeah. So the site that I showed you with the Uber Suggest information, that was a brochure-style website, no e-commerce, tiny little bit of e-commerce, but not really e-commerce. $10,000 she paid for that website. And it is honestly basically a piece of shit. So best way of putting it. It looks pretty. So the client was initially, okay, this is cool. But she was frustrated still with the web designer because the web designer was here in Sydney, but communication barrier between her and the website person meant that things didn't quite get explained very well. And then it was all offshored to India in the background. Yeah. So she said, like, I'm doing stuff and they're just not doing it. So that client came to me knowing that I dabble in websites and things, but I'm not a website person. I'm a business advisor, business trainer. I'm not a website person. So I've actually sat down with her and she's like, I want you to do this stuff. I want you to make these changes. And I said, well, some of the stuff is outside my expertise. I'd have to get a website designer or a website developer to help me. She's like, I don't care if you do that, but I want to pay you to then pay them, because she has so burnt, she doesn't want to touch them anymore. So this comes back to the comment before. I think most of you people in this room are not people that are delivering these shitty things to clients. But But what you're doing is you can pick up those clients instead of having to have people like me have to act as middleman. So I've got Mitch working with a few of my clients because I met him through one of the WordPress meetups. I'm like, if you're part of this community, you're doing the right thing by people.
I can say I've picked up 3 clients because of that sort of behaviour.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. So the thing is, people want to deal with good people, and there's people out there that do want to pay good money, but they just can't find quality. They can't find people that are doing the right thing. And that's really sad. So you guys that are doing the right thing, make sure you pick them up.
You can pick up crap clients.
Yes.
You can pick up really crap ones that are just, I don't know,
Gut
what
instinct.
you're trying to say is like they're tire kickers or whatever, and they've been through 2, 3, 5 designers because they're nightmares.
Gut instinct. So you know when you pick up the phone and start dealing with that person, you're going to get the red flags on the phone. If you get the red flags, no deal. We do not need clients that are shit, okay? We need clients that are good. So if you know that that client's not going to be someone who's going to pay, you know they're going to be a pain in your ass, just don't take them on.
Yeah, just send them the website Fiverr.
Exactly. Say go Fiverr, go to Upwork, go somewhere else. Because I know, if I know a client's a problem, I had a client that literally was going to throw herself under a bus was her statement. She wanted me to then refer her to a resume writer. And I said, I'm not referring you to anybody in my connections. Because you've treated me like crap, I'm not having you do that to somebody else. I'm sorry, I draw the line. So yeah, delivering them to Fiverr or Upwork's probably fine, but I ain't giving them to one of my contacts. It means too much to me. So yeah, 100% gut instinct. If you can see that there's red flags all over them, see you later.
It rang, but it was like,
Because you've got to pay attention. When the little bell's ringing, pay attention. Because honestly, I don't know, pretty much any time when the gut instinct isn't right, you just know. You know when it's off. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. To follow up on that. So yes, we missed it, right?
Yeah.
Red flag. So now everything's calm. And I'm talking like, this is not big dollars, this is like 3 figures. Less than 100.
So like it's 1.00, 3 figures?
It's like painful now. However, we're at the stage where it's okay.
Yep.
So, but we're at the point now where it's going to, the changes will be made, right? But I'm not sure if we can actually, no matter what we do, I'm not sure if we can facilitate a happy ending. So what would you advise? And quite likely it could end up in that particular group. And I don't care about, I care about the brand, of course.
Yep.
But, if it ends up in the group, it ends up in the group. And there's got to be a point where you just got to say, well, okay, that's potentially going to happen.
You can't please everyone all the time, okay? And we're not trying to do that, okay? So this is more about the overall that you're doing, not every last individual one. So sometimes you just have to, cut a client or whatever. They may not take it well. That's okay. But just make sure you've done the right thing in the process. So you've been polite to them. You haven't sent them any dodgy emails that they can then cut and paste and put up in groups and stuff like that, because God, we've all seen those. Or the guy that called his Google review a pig and an idiot. That just doesn't win you any friends. So just be good business people. Just be good humans. And as long as you're kind and as long as you do the right thing, then most people will see through that. And they'll see that, this person's bitching and moaning all the time anyway. It's just who they are. Yeah.
How do you delete bad Google? Not that I'm just seeing
Yep.
people that have these Google reviews
Yep.
to see they're ruining their business. Is there any way anything for those?
Deleting you can report a review to Google, but you really need to have evidence that it is definitely fake. So for instance, there was a case where 5 glass balustrade companies all had 1-star reviews on the same day from the same person, and another business had a 5-star review. Well, it was kind of obvious what was going on there. So obviously you can go into the person's reviews, do a screenshot, send that off to Google and say, look, this is rubbish. Clearly they did not get 5 lots of glass balustrades installed on the same day. So that one there, you can easily get rid of it. Honestly, 99.9% of the time though, the review will stick. So really it comes down to the way you respond, and same comment to them is the be kind, be a human kind of response, is put a really nice response in. I've seen plenty of examples where something's been rated before the business has even started. They aren't even trading, so there's absolutely no way that customer's been one of theirs. So you just say that. So, you know, we have no record of you being a customer. In fact, we weren't even open then, but if you'd like to come in and test us out, feel free. And the thing is, that tells other people. But you know what? You don't actually want 5-star reviews, all glowing. One bad review is actually a good thing, because you might get a 4.7 or something like that, but then that people actually realise that you're real. Otherwise, they actually get to the point where they think, is this just all fake and it's your mates? So it actually doesn't harm you at all. Really doesn't. But one thing I will say on those groups, and that's where I hate this, somebody will badmouth somebody on one of those groups, and what will happen is that all these other people go, oh, I'll go and give you a 5-star review to offset that review, but none of them have used the service. That's terrible. That's just as bad, because they still might have been a crappy provider that deserved shitty reviews, and you've just now gone and told people they're awesome. Don't do that. So yeah, be human, be nice, be kind. Simple.
I think we should turn to the web developer next to us and just give them a hug.
That's a good idea. Are you a web developer?
I am.
Oh, I'll give you a hug.
Give me a
then.
hug as I'm walking out the door. Thank you. Let's have a round of applause for Jane, guys. That's a good session. Very good.
Thanks.